Welcome everyone back to the Sanderlanche. This week we are doing, so we're starting a new book. We're doing The Alloy of Law, first of the Wax and Wane series. I think that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure Data mentioned that a while ago. We are doing the prologue and chapter 1. In these chapters, we meet Wax, who seems to be a lawman, sort of bounty hunter type out in the Old West. He and his crew, including his girlfriend Lessie, are hunting down a target named Bloody Tan, and it ends horribly. And then sometime later it picks up. Wax is back in the city, and he's meant to be the scion of a noble house, and he really isn't interested in that, and he's just doing whatever he can to get away from those responsibilities. So, I'm Dak, and with me, as always, is
Jamie,
Joe,
and Data.
Always fun to start a new book. Let's get into it. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
The streets spin shimmers and the walls they curl. The grip of greed it rains. There's just one track to lead this moving train. The price of progress is a dying world. The price of trust is pain after the wrath, the bitter shame. Look up into the night. Pillars of risen, they fall in their light. Forward we run, splinter the steel, weaken the wheel. Through life and loss, rivers of sorrows running. The heavy cost of holding the hands of time. Through life and loss.
So yeah, new book, new quadrilogy. I guess we're starting. Not a new planet though. We're back on Scadrial, and
new.
Yeah, new, exactly. But for anyone who's interested, the song this week is Miracle of Sound, called Through Life and Loss. It's based on Final Fantasy VII Remake. And so what did you guys think of these first two chapters of Mistborn Era 2, or as Dak said, it is sometimes known as the Wax and Wane books?
Man, I gotta tell you, this prologue scratched a really good itch for me. Like, I have always loved westerns. Yeah, I've been devouring them for at least for the better part of a decade. It's like even like some of the older, shittier ones, like the old spaghetti westerns and stuff. And that prologue, oh, chef's kiss, loved it. It was exactly what I wanted out of the story. And I vaguely recall someone said it's not like that for the rest of the book. So I'm just like, well, I'll take this one and I will love it. And and then the like chapter 1 is like it was fine, but I'm just like, oh man, like that the prologue did something really new and different, and I guess it is fun to see like the different powers and everything, but the chapter 1 did seem a bit like it's more like, you know, political courtly intrigue just in sort of an updated setting, so, which we have seen a lot of before in the Mistborn trilogy. So it's like it's not bad, but I'm like, oh man, after that prologue, it was just kind of
Do you want to see some more gunplay and hunting down lawbreakers or whatever?
I mean, the idea of a full-fledged Western set in this world with these powers, like, and just seeing the potential fully realized in that prologue was just fascinating to me. And like, I don't want to leave it behind. I'm just like, no, let's get more of that. Come on. But oh well, story's got a story.
Yeah, gotta have some kind of something happening, but
Yeah.
We'll have to see whether we get any more of that flavor or if it's more some other stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I liked these chapters. I agree with Jack. The prologue was really good. It was really easy to visualize what was going on. I just thought it was really quite well written and descriptive, and it was a good kind of introduction, I guess. I mean, if you hadn't read Mistborn, I think you're kind of missing out, but it would be descriptive enough, I think, to pick up and go, oh, what's all this? What's allomancy? What's this? But it wasn't like being spoon-fed. We weren't being reintroduced for the first time. It was kind of some assumed knowledge, which I liked. When I sort of read the first couple of pages, I was like, oh, God, we're going to have to go through all of this again. Like, telling me how you push on metals and all this sort of stuff. But once I got through those first couple of pages, I was like, oh, no, this is actually fine to read. And yeah, the Western setting was really creative. I actually thought throwing in guns was really interesting from the metal point of view and what you could do with that. I love the idea of the twin-born thing. I think that's so cool, and what you'd be able to do with all these different combinations. I'm so looking forward to see what happens with all of those. Yeah, he's kind of got a bit of a tragic story, doesn't he?
Yeah, no
That
joke.
when he's walking through the gallery and there's like all these bodies everywhere, I was like, ooh, a good murder mystery. I'm kind of sad the murder mystery is a bit over, but wow, that was quite a story, quite an event. I mean, I don't know what's coming in the books, but I don't know that our time in the Western world is over. We've still got to meet Wayne, and he sounds like a bit of a character. I like his lines about the horse can belch in musical notes. I think this guy can tell quite a tale. So I'm sort of excited to meet him, and my impression was that he was back in the Western kind of world. So I hope we'll go back. It sounds like a really cool thing. So yeah, it's a lot of sort of familiar and what we already know in an updated setting. But I think it's going to be really cool to see what we do with the updated technology and the advancement in the cities with more metal around as well, and the twin-borns and stuff. I'm really excited to see what comes. There's enough of the familiar and throwing in all the names, you know, Damu Promenade and the different house names and Ellendale. I'm like, oh, little
I know
tidbits
those
of people
people.
we know. I'm so excited. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes next. But you know, it's obviously it's early days. I can't jump in and go, oh my god, I love this book so far. Like, it's very early, but I'm excited to see where it goes.
I'm glad you brought up the twin-born thing, because that was something I was gonna see what y'all thought, because it really does open this. We've never seen someone with just one feruchemy power to start with. Like, all the feruchemists are always had all the powers. So just the like ridiculous number of possible combinations there are now, with like 16 of one and 16 of the other, and mixing and matching and stuff. It's just, it opens up a whole new door. And then I was telling Joe that there's a whole new set of names for stuff. It's like, not only do we have the different names for the mistings, but now each of the feruchemical powers gets a name. So I think he calls it skimming or something in this section, but what his does.
Yeah. But just the whole what I really like is they put so much into being able to push and pull in the last trilogy, and that it was so much about whether you were lighter than it or you were heavier than it. And now the idea that you can manipulate your weight to do that as well, that's so cool. I would not have even thought about being able to combine those. Like, I knew you could, well, obviously we knew that there were allomancers that had feruchemical ability with, actually, no, that Marsh had feruchemical ability, didn't he, in the spikes?
Yeah, I think,
yes.
Yeah,
and
at
Lord
least
Ruler
some
did.
of the Inquisitors did, and definitely Lord Ruler, yeah.
But I don't think we ever saw them use them together. It was like you could do that and you could do that, but it never occurred to me to sort of mush them together. That's really cool.
Yeah, it never occurred to them either.
Well, we know that the Lord Ruler, that's how he lived so long, was through like the combination of the two, because of what he was doing to like store age and then burn it with allomancy to get the age back or whatever. So, but yeah, I think beyond that, we never really saw much of like the mixing.
Yeah.
Wizards aren't so great at thinking outside the box.
Well, you put a couple of spikes through the brain, surely you're going to lose some brain power.
Well, and then Ruin was controlling them all after the Lord Ruler was gone, so maybe he's just the one that wasn't that creative.
Point.
It's true. Yeah, so Prologue is good. It was kind of sad.
Yeah.
But, you know, got to have a gut punch at the beginning. The only thing I'd say I don't like is the time skips. I noticed, you know, I didn't read it, but I noticed there's 6 months between the chapter we just read and the next one. So that I'm not wild about, because I'm just not. I don't like time skipping as a like thing in books. I just don't enjoy that. It's like if you wanted to tell a certain story over a certain period of time, then I don't know. It just seems like there's a more creative way to do that than just say 5 months later, 6 months later. So
the first chapter only just started with a time skip, so.
Right, yep. Exactly. Like, it's prologue 5 months later, and then first chapter, and then 6 months later, I saw at the beginning of the second chapter. So, but no, I liked the Western angle. There's a lot of interesting things. I actually spent a good amount of time looking at the map before I actually started reading, and you know, I saw Ellendale, and then the Damu Promenade just made me laugh because I'm like, okay, really? And then and then there's also a town near Ellendale or a village or something called Vin something. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then also, it seems they call Sazed Harmony, which is cool. And also, this guy is apparently a descendant of Breeze because he's Waxillium Ladrian. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I was wondering if anyone was going to pick up on the Ladrian thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely, when I read it, I was like, oh, Waxillium Ladrian. That Ladrian's definitely somebody we know. And then I remembered that it was Breeze. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. And he was at like the Set mansion during the party, so that was cool too. And so
Hey, Meow Meow had kids.
yeah,
Apparently.
Yeah, and so there was just a lot of little tidbits like that I really appreciated. I think I had talked about the possibility of somebody having ferochemy and Mistborn or allomancy powers in the last books that we read. But I mean, we obviously found out that there were people that had that, like the Lord Ruler, and then later the Inquisitors, since they were given more powers by Ruin. But yeah, so that was cool. Very very interesting. Interesting that he's born with it. Surprising to me that the Mistborn trait is lost. Apparently, it's like now legend. So that's I'm excited to kind of see where this is going. But I kind of wish we were, and maybe it'll go this way in the book. But I kind of wish Waxillium was like still a bounty hunter out in the West wilds. Like that sounds more interesting. But we've only just started, so maybe some interesting things will unfold here. But yeah, I really liked all of the gunplay / manipulation for the allomancy stuff and making himself lighter and heavier is really cool. So yeah, I'm excited. Excited to see where this goes.
It is interesting that it's only like a couple hundred years or 300 years or something, and like the Mistborn has, like, the powers become so diluted that no one is Mistborn anymore. But it could be to do with the fact that it's like you no longer have like all of the nobles having to intermarry and not allowed to like have children with Ska or whatever, so it dilutes faster.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah. Also interesting to me that the mist is still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it has to be in order for people to for their power to unlock the allomancy power. It's just
Maybe
not as frequent.
Maybe Say's just like the mist. He's like, okay, I'm gonna put him back.
Every once in a while, here you go, have some mist.
Yeah, not all the time.
Sazed finally makes oh my god, who's your buddy, Joe? What's his name?
Spook.
Spook.
My buddy? You mean the guy I hate? Because it's definitely not
Yeah.
my buddy.
Yeah, your old mate.
Yeah.
God, that's probably the most Aussie sounding thing I've ever said.
Your
Old
old
mate.
mate.
Old mate.
Yeah, you're
I
That's-
heard it
that's-
as it
that's-
came out of my mouth.
Yep.
Yeah, Spook.
That's the thing.
So Say's finally made Spook and Mistborn, and then was like, no mists for you to draw upon. Lol.
Well, thanks for that. Sazed? No, I assume. My assumption is that Sazed, is that Spook and Kelsey are long gone. They're now globe-trotting or whatever.
Oh, you think they're hanging out together somewhere?
Sure.
Okay.
They're in the oh god,
Cognitive.
the realm,
Yeah.
cognitive realm.
Well,
know
hang
where
on. Did you
they're
say
in there.
Did you say Spook had descendants?
Did I say Spook had descendants? Yeah. Oh,
Da-
no,
I
you
think-
mean Data.
Did
I may have
Data.
said
He
that
had
at some
years
point.
that
It's
he
possible.
would procreate.
Yeah, you told
Yeah,
us. You
'cause-
told us he mated with like a
He
lot
hooked
of
up with heaps of
women.
chicks or
Oh,
something.
because
Yeah.
Brandon said he was like a player or whatever. Yeah, okay.
Right.
And that's true.
Plenty of spawn or
like-
whatever.
I'm just wondering, it's like, if Spook had kids, like did he have to will Kelsier to them or something? It's like, I die, so someone else has to deal with this asshole now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we talked about this because didn't we talk about like a whole family that only talked in Spook talk?
Oh,
That sounds familiar to me.
I don't
Yeah, that's-
remember,
that-
but it could be.
it's possible.
We're not even gonna get into it. We're not doing spook talk. No one wants to go there.
Wasn't with the why not?
We could do a segment of Spook talk every now and again, I reckon.
That it would be funny for like 5 seconds, and then people are like, "Okay, stop now."
Yeah.
Okay, I guess let's get into the thing. I wanted to start out looking at the map since and which Joe was talking about, because there are some interesting things on this map, and the whole section in the main part of the map is called the Elendel Basin. So it's like this big area surrounded by mountains, kind of circular, called the Elendel Basin, which down in the middle, there's the city of Elendel, so named after our good friend, clearly. And Elendel sits on the Sea of Yomond, so Yomond gets this sea named after him, I guess. And then, as Joe said, there's a city called Vindiel Camu. I don't know exactly what that's all about, but and just south of there is a city called Doxinar. So Doxon gets his own city to be remembered. There's also a city called Rashikin. So Rashek got a city named after him.
Oh,
what?
I see. I read Rashikin, but I did not connect it. Yeah, and I read the Doxcar or whatever.
Boxcar, right, whatever.
Boxcar.
So
Do you think Spook did that? He's like, let's name this Rashikin, and they're like, wait, why?
Exactly. Why would you do that?
And he's like,
No one else-
the Lord Ruler.
No one else knows who that is.
He tried to save the world, kinda.
Well, I mean, for all we know, Yeoman was still worshiping the Lord Ruler like after the world was remade because he was very much
that's
of the
true.
church. So he could have like
True.
founded Rashikin or something.
I blacked out
That's
that
right,
guy.
sir.
They're dividing this all up. He's insisting upon this, and it's like, fine, but if we do this, you don't get a city, you get a C instead. Also,
That's good.
There's
I like that.
a city called Allendale, which is just Ellendale with an A instead of an E, and I feel like that's got to be confusing.
I was wondering if it was
Yeah,
named
it
after
was
like
his-
Alendi, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes
He's his
sense.
secret brother Alan, though.
Yeah, Elland and his brother Alan.
Yeah.
He
Alan
was
was
one
of the-
the headbutt of doom.
He was the only one that survived like the culling of all the Straff children.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
then-
I, Alan, will carry on the Vector name in my brother's death.
And
Like, we don't like you as much.
Breeze at Ham, and just like, who this guy?
who dis? New phone. Who dis? And so, but then when you get outside the mountains, you move into the roughs, and up in the northern roughs, like in the top left, you can see Weathering, which is the city that Wax mentions that he kind of hangs out in when working out there. So he's kind of far removed from everything. You can even tell there's like not a lot of ways to get out there. There's like this one thing that looks like the road or rail line or whatever goes through to get through the mountains. So it would be very isolated, all these cities out here, I guess.
There's also a city out here called True Madil. Does that mean
Yep.
there's a city called False Madil out there somewhere?
One would wonder, right? Exactly. Like, why is it true? I don't know. Who's Madil?
Yeah.
Well, there's also a Feltrel. So maybe out here under Weathering, maybe that's named after our friend Felt from the previous books.
Yeah,
I
maybe
forgot
so.
about him.
Or it's named after Tom Felton because they're big fans.
And then at the very top, there is the Tyrian Sea, which if you go back and look at the Final Empire map, there is
They were good friends with
a
Tyrion
Lake
Lannister.
Tyrian, I believe.
That's right.
And so people have like tried to superimpose like the new map somewhere on the old one, even though he may have, Sayes may have just rearranged everything, but they're like, okay, so I think this place is right here. And actually the geography does kind of fit the shoreline and stuff. There's a little piece in the south of the Final Empire that looks just like the little hook here around the south of Ellendale. So people think they figured out where that is, but it's just another little fun fact about the map. And then the next map is of the city of Ellendale, which is really well laid out, it seems like. You got Hammondar Bay, so Hammond gets a bay, and then it's divided into 8 like pie slices called octants. And there's Damu Promenade and Set Mansion, and you can see a little note in the bottom right of the map from Naz saying, "My friend, annotated with locations as per your instructions."
I noticed there's a yeoman manor here as well.
Set Mansion, Yeoman Manor, Tekiel Tower. Tekiel was one of the families in the Final Empire, like the noble families. So Damu Promenade and Ladrian Mansion. So our friend hangs out in the 4th octant. And then you see the very center, there's a big circular thing called the Field of Rebirth. So just interesting little notes about there's underground railways, there's stations and farms and parks and roads. It's just a very well laid out city. I like the way that it was constructed. And the canals, very convenient. So, okay. Enough about maps that people can't even see.
Hang on, just before we do that, it says it's like from an actual survey. I'm like, again, like an actual survey. What the hell does that mean? Were there all these like black market surveys going on?
There's just people drawing it from like memory. Like, I think this is what it looks like.
Yeah, and then people, just drawing maps in the alleyways, be like, "Hey, man, you need to know your way around."
It's also in miles square, and I can't, on mine the scale is really small, so I can't read it very well to tell how big this city is, but it's not small. It's the impression that I'm given.
Yeah, no, it's a fairly big city.
Oh yeah, so we're into the prologue, where Waxillium Ladrian, but call him Wax because that's way easier to say. He's crawling through the dirt out in this this abandoned town, basically, with his Styrian 36. Apparently, it's a very nice gun. There's a whole paragraph about how awesome this revolver is. And he's looking around. He's burning steel. So we find out very quickly that he's an allomancer who can push on things, because that was steel power is pushing. And like Jamie said, we get kind of a brief review. It's like, so when he pushes on stuff, it has to do with whether his weight is more or the way the thing he's pushing on is more, depending on what moves. It's blah, stuff that we know. But if you're picking up this book for the first time, it's kind of important that you would know this stuff. But he also has a new trick that we have not seen before, where he can kind of create like a steel pushing bubble around himself to keep doesn't keep everything out necessarily, but he says that bullets will kind of deflect hitting the bubble, so it has saved his life before. That's a fun trick.
Yeah, it's cool trick. Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
And he's like, I don't even know how I do it. I probably couldn't teach anyone else to do this. It's just like an instinctive thing that I figured out how to do. It's kind of like Vin and her horseshoe trick that Ellen could never get down. So it is a dead town. It had been a Feltrel, so that's where we are. Had once been a prosperous town, and then 20 years back, a clan of Koloss had taken up residence, and things had not gone well. So hey, the Koloss are still around. Isn't that great?
Yeah, I was
Of all
very.
things you probably wanted to come back.
Yeah, I was very confused about that. I was like, Says, what's your deal, man? That's kind of messed up.
Well, some of the Koloss were still in the tunnels when the world changed or whatever. So,
I mean, I guess. Sure.
do you slaughter them? That'd be mean.
They
But
will
also,
have their
are they
legends
just-
of the one named human.
Exactly.
Surely they're not making more Koloss,
See, that's the question, huh?
because they don't live that long. Because don't they just grow until their hearts give out?
Yep.
So, who's doing this?
Maybe Say's changed how they worked. I mean, he changed the humans because the humans had been changed by the Lord
True.
Ruler to like be able to survive in this horrible environment, and he changed them back. So maybe he did something to the Koloss. Who knows?
I mean,
Yeah,
don't
he didn't
you think
change them
that
back.
Yeah, if you were going to
Yeah.
do something, you'd change them back.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point.
Yeah. Also, like, why is the reach of the cave too far for Says? I don't understand that.
Well, no, but that's just like he preserved when you read the end when he's remaking the world, he like preserves all the things in the cave and kind of like he doesn't like mess around in the caves. He just moves them all into one place and everybody comes out. Although apparently he did change all the people in the cave, so I guess he did stuff in there. But
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Don't try to
He didn't
destroy logic
them.
your way out of this.
goodness.
300 years later, and Say's just like, well, too late to fix anything about that now.
But we also find out that out here in the roughs, crawling around in the dirt, Wax wears a finely tailored suit, silver cravat, cufflinks on his fine white shirt. It's a very interesting approach here. He's like, I'm dressed up as if I was going to attend a fine ball back in Ellendale. So they still have balls and stuff. Maybe we'll get to go to some of those. Everyone's favorite part of the previous books.
Oh yeah, Well, I mean, I guess technically we did see part of one, but yeah.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
It is so fun. Those balls.
And he has a bowler hat to top off his ensemble. A bowler never felt
Quite
like
a
the
look.
dressiest of hats to me, but okay. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I just like that our main character dresses nicely and takes pride in looking good, even out here in the middle of nowhere in the dirt. It's like my character in D&D.
Sure. No, but nobody's gonna know that, but sure.
Yeah.
He dresses like Dutch in Red Dead 2.
Hey, that's funny. Joe was playing Red Dead 2 when we before we started recording. He may still be for all I know.
That's true. No, I'm not still playing it, but yeah, that's true. Wow, I can't even use my brain right now. I never finished it, so that's why I'm playing it, because I've never finished it. I've had it since it came out.
Really?
I never finished it. Nah, there's too much other side stuff to do. I got sidetracked.
I'm playing for the second time again. I love that game.
I
I should see if I I could buy the outfits and dress my character up like Wax.
Yeah, see, there you go. I bought Red Dead 2, or maybe I got it for Christmas or something one year. Never have had time to actually play it. And I suppose I could be doing it right now, except I started playing my way through the Uncharted games again, and I'm towards the back half of Uncharted 2, so maybe after that. There's a bunch of games like that, though. I never started playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I never started playing the fourth Arkham game, the one with the car.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have that. Never started it.
I wouldn't consider it the fourth because it's not the same as like that third one's an aberration, man.
But anyway, so yes, I need to get into doing some of that at some point. But I discovered all these PS4 games that you can put onto your PS5 and even upgrade stuff about. So I was like, well, I want to play these. Anyway, sorry, back to Wax. He's there's a gunshot. He pushes himself down. His steel bubble makes a bullet zip past his ear, and he takes a shot at a guy hiding behind the hotel sign and uses his steel power to push it harder than it would normally go to send it through the sign and into the guy behind it, causing him to die and drop his gun down off the balcony. So see, that's just already.
Yeah, this is like cool. This is a Western with the magic powers. This is exactly what I wanted out of this. That was just a brilliant. As soon as he did that move, I'm just like, I am all in on this right now.
Yeah, see, that's exactly this kind of thing that we're imagining when it's like Mistborn and bullets. It's like, come on, this is what we got.
Yeah.
Then he hears another shot, and he pushes himself down into the dirt reflexively, but he knows it's too late. It says, by the time you hear the shot, it's too late for pushing to help you get out of the way. Fortunately, that shot was not taken at him. A woman shot somebody else who was hiding up there on top of a building. She wore a white duster, reddened at the bottom, dark hair pulled back, trousers, belt, boots. Lessie, it says. And she's like, you knock yourself to the ground again? You've got more dust on your face than Miles has scowls. Maybe it's time for you to retire, old man. And he's like, I'm 3 months older than you. She's like, well, it's a long 3 months. I love their interactions. They're great. So yes, they're out here looking for Bloody Tan. Okay, that's a name, I guess.
Yeah, Jamie was telling me before, like with an Aussie twang, it sounds a bit different.
Okay.
It's just like you don't read it as Bloody Tan.
I was like, Bloody Tan. Bloody Tan. That guy,
That's
Bloody
good.
Tan.
I like that.
This is a new curse. Bloody Tan. But apparently this guy likes to use a knife. It says that he doesn't like having to use a gun. He laments when he has to use a gun. He wants to be able to see the fear in their eyes when he kills them. So this is a nice dude.
Yeah, seems like a real winner.
Meanwhile, he's got a letter that she kind of takes a glance at, tucked into his pocket, addressed to Lord Waxillium Ladrian. And he's like, she doesn't need to worry about that. House Ladrian will have to get along without me. And apparently, the guy that she shot had a bow with stone arrowheads, so that guy came prepared for shooting an allomancer to death. So see, there's a whole new even angle to it, where it's not just the stuff that the allomancers can now do with guns, but it's like the stuff that you have to do to avoid giving the allomancer an advantage. So you still got people using like crossbows and stone arrows just to avoid, in case you run into an allomancer. You don't want them pushing your gun out of your hand in the middle of a gunfight.
Yeah, deploy countermeasures.
Yeah. Although I don't want to be that guy. Like in a normal fight, if there's not an allomancer around, you're the guy with the crossbow just in case an allomancer shows up. I'll be like, you guys go ahead. I'll hang back here. Because
would it be a crossbow? Wouldn't that have like a metal wire to fire it?
Maybe not necessarily. I don't know what kind of wires they use. Did this guy have? Am I misremembering that? Did he just have a regular bow? I have to see. She said a bow, so maybe it wasn't even a crossbow. Maybe it was just a bow. So you're the guy with the bow and arrow, while everyone else is shooting guns. I'm like, no, I'll hang out back here. Let me know if an allomancer starts killing you guys, and I'll come in. And then Leslie he says, cover me, and she's like, oh, with what? And there's this whole thing, and he just raises an eyebrow at her, and she's like, I'm sorry, I've been playing cards with Wayne too much. So yeah, we get a couple references to Wayne, like Jamie mentions, and it's just like I want to meet Wayne now. Which, since we know that it's called the Wax and Wayne books, probably he shows up at some point, right?
I mean, maybe, or else it's just the biggest tease ever.
That would be hilarious.
He's just Wax's pen pal throughout the whole thing.
He's Wax's imaginary friend. He never actually existed in the first place. So it's a guy. Wax goes over to look at the guy, and it's from a guy from Donnell's crew. And she's like, bastards, they couldn't just leave it to us. He's like, well, you did shoot his son, Lessie. She's like, well, you shot his brother. And he's like, well, mine was self-defense. Mine was too. The kid was annoying. Besides, he survived. It's a real shame that spoilers, she gets shot in the head here in a minute and dies, because she's so much fun.
She is. She's a lot of fun. I was bummed out.
Oh, yeah. Their dynamic is great.
So apparently she shot one of the guy's toes off. And she's like, you don't need 10. I have a cousin with 4. She does just fine. Of course, she does look kind of ridiculous.
Also, she's so nice.
And Wax thinks Harmony. I love that woman. So if Joe is right, and that's the name of Sazed now, then
I mean, it's got to be. It makes the most sense.
I mean, yeah, it seems reasonable, since he's not ruin or preservation. He's these two opposites.
Yeah,
at the same time.
One. Mm-hmm.
Harmony would make sense. You're right.
Yeah, I am. Don't at me, bro.
It's weird that I maybe he gave himself that name, if that's him, like, as opposed to, like, they don't just call him Sazed. They're like, oh no, that's Harmony.
Harmony.
He's like, hey, everybody call me by my new name, please.
You might call me Ishmael. Nope, different book.
And so Wax reviews like, yeah, he shot Donald's brother. The guy had been robbing a railway car at the time.
As you do.
But Donald didn't really care about his brother. He just cared about losing money. He put a price on Bloody Tan's head for stealing a shipment of his bendalloy, which there's a word. Is that a
bend alloy?
Yeah, that's so that is the commercial. Bendalloy is the commercial name for a metal also known as Wood's metal or Lipowitz's alloy.
Lipowitz.
Used for soldering and making custom metal parts, but toxic to touch or breathe. Made from bismuth, lead, tin, and cadmium. So there you go. It is an actual metal. Just not one that I had heard of before.
Okay.
So is that one of our new metals? Why is it so valuable, this shipment? Or maybe it's just valuable because it's rare. Who knows? Because we know that there's some new metals coming into these books that we want to see what they do. But apparently Donald doesn't put a price out in his head, doesn't want to actually have to pay it. So he sent his people to come and get tan themselves. And just also his people have orders to shoot Wax and Lessie if they ever see them. So that's just they don't get along. And Wax is like, I mean, I could just leave this town and let these two guys that I hate go at it. But no, I promised to bring Tan in. So that's that. Too much dedication, dude. You should have just left.
Yeah, probably would have been better for, your wife.
So they split up. Wax going one way, Leslie going the other way. He says he's going to try to hook up with Wayne and Barl, who've gone to check the other side of town.
And so just going to say, Barl, that doesn't sound like a pleasant word, so I would hate to have that name.
Right? It sounds like barley, I guess.
Yeah.
Or just Carl. Hey, it's Carl, our friend Carl from before. Yeah, okay. His name was Carl, but we called him Carl.
Back.
So, yeah.
Good old Carl. Never forget.
Carl and his wife, whose name I forget.
Karen.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, so Wax goes to start looking through stuff, and he finds the entrance to it says an old cold cellar. I think maybe that's supposed to be coal cellar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Unless there's a cellar to keep things cold. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Could be. It would make sense because those people are pretty well preserved in there.
Yeah, right.
So maybe it is a lot colder down there.
So he drops a bullet down the hole and then uses his pushing power to go down there. And at the same time, this is where we find out about the Twinborn thing. He has iron metal mines, which iron lets you store weight. So as he jumps down, he makes himself lighter so that it's easier to push on the thing and slow himself. So he has his allomantic power is steel pushing, and his ferrochemical power is called skimming. The ability to grow heavier or lighter. A powerful combination of talents. It's funny because you know there's gonna be some combinations that are just lame. So this one's a good one, I guess, is what he's saying. I forget what aluminum does like in ferrochemy, but if you're an aluminum allomancer and that's the only thing you got, then it kind of sucks. Because all that did was like take away all the other metals that you had when they made Vin burn it that one time. It's like, oh hey, I can burn aluminum to do nothing.
So yeah, we don't talk about those ones.
we don't talk about Bruno. It's fine. Okay, keep going. He starts going down a tunnel that he's found down here. Sees a light, and it turns out that he thought it was a cellar, but as he goes further, he's like, oh, this is getting way too long to be a cellar. I guess maybe this is like a piece of a mine or something. And he's with his steel, he sees some metal lines. There's metal up ahead, but it's not moving, so he gets closer and he finds a corpse, a body hanging there. It seemed old. The eyes were gone from the skull, and the skin pulled back against the bone. It didn't stink and wasn't bloated. It's Gjorman, the coachman who brought Mail into Weathering. That was his uniform, at least. He'd been one of Tan's first victims. The disappearance which had sent Wax hunting him 2 months back. He's been mummified, prepared and dried like leather. Oh, that's nice. He's like, I used to go drinking with this guy. He was a card cheat, but an amiable enough fellow. And he's been hung up here in a pose. His arms out to the side, his head cocked. So it's just creepy and weird. And he sees another light in the distance, and as he approaches, it's another corpse. This one hanging sideways. Anarel, a visiting geologist who had vanished soon after Gjorman. She'd also been dried with her body spiked to the wall in a pose as if she were on her knees inspecting a pile of rocks. This goes
Again
on
with the spikes.
Yeah, right. This goes on for another 6 corpses. So there's 8 more. There's 8 dead guys down here arranged in various poses. One in a chair, another strung up like it was flying. And as you keep going, they get fresher and fresher, which that's nice. Rust and ruin, he thinks this isn't Bloody Tan's lair, it's his gallery. I like rust as a curse in a like society that views metal as being very important.
Yeah, that's a cool touch.
Very cool.
And of course, ruin. That's just that's a good curse anyway. He wasn't a nice guy.
Can't forget that guy.
I guess I just wonder how widespread that story has become.
Right?
The story of ruin and preservation.
Yeah, is it just like a legend, or is there something? I mean, was it like did Spook just come out and talk about it like later on and tell everyone all this story?
Well, he did, but no one can understand what the hell he was saying.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think if I remember correctly, the annotations in the Hero of Ages, where it talks about like all the magic and blah blah blah, I think that is. It turns out that's the book that Spook picks up at the end, and he finds like a big pile of books, and he starts looking at one because it's like a book that's like telling the story, and there's the bit at the end where it's like, oh, and I turned you into a Mistborn. So maybe it's actually a book.
He published it.
Yeah, let's get a bunch of copies of this out there.
Well, I guess it tells the story of like the creation of the planet and everything. So technically, it's their Bible.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah. A Bible literally written by God. How convenient.
Yeah.
So Wax finds a trap door leading up, and he goes up and finds himself in an old chapel to the Survivor. So apparently the Survivor religion is still around. And then there's a voice. Creepy voice. Each life is a performance. We are not the performers. We are the puppets. And Wax is like, come out, Tan. And Tan whispers, I have seen God, Lawkeeper. I have seen Death himself with the nails in his eyes. I have seen the Survivor, who is life. So Death has nails in his eyes, and the Survivor is life. Okay.
Sounds familiar to me.
Oh boy. He's seen Death. Death has spikes. He's seen Marsh. Marsh is the Grim Reaper. Awesome.
Yeah, that is actually pretty awesome.
That's metal.
Marsh Reaper.
That works, yeah, okay.
He's a Marsh Reaper.
That just sounds like he goes to marshes and like kills things.
I mean,
everyone needs a hobby.
Why wouldn't you be?
Oh god.
Of all the things he could be doing, that's probably one of the better ones.
I see death. He was hanging out in the swamps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
He's
living
riding
in
an alligator.
he lives in Australia. Got it. No, wait, those are crocodiles. Sorry.
Yeah.
We had the
way
whole
to
discussion
go.
about riding the crocodile to work. That's what Marsh does, I guess. Or maybe it's just the legend of like Inquisitors have become like Grim Reaper, fodder because they're fucked up and evil.
Look, that's possible, but I am going to ride this Marsh is still alive theory like I rode the volcano theory.
Okay, that's fair.
Or like,
I just feel like why bring it up? Why put it in there if it's he's
Mm.
definitely said I've seen death. So I don't know. I reckon we're gonna see an Inquisitor.
it's like if for whatever reason Tan has a spike, he could have seen the survivor,
That's true too.
like Spook did. So that's possible. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. To my point, it's like I'm either writing this like the volcano theory or like the Orosur is really the traitor that Joe had, because Joe's was right, mine was wrong, so it's gonna be one of the two.
There you go. It's 50-50 shot, right? It's either right or it's wrong.
Yeah. Stick to your guns.
What's it gonna be? Is this gonna be an Orosur theory or a volcano theory?
Or both somehow. It'll turn out to be wrong and then turn out to be right. Or it'll turn out to be right and then wrong. Like they'll be like, oh hey, look, it's Marsh, and then it turns out it's a different Inquisitor, and they're all back, and there's like 50 of them. Okay, that.
Oh god.
Well, I mean, if the Colas are still around, if they're running the same way, then spike magic is still a thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
So Tan continues to be creepy. He's like, other men wonder, but I know I'm a puppet. We all are. Did you like my show? I worked so hard to build it. Many men never get the chance to create true art, and the best performances are those which can never be reproduced. He says, by the end of the day, the rotting will begin. I couldn't truly mummify them. I hadn't the time or the resources. So you were the only one to see, only you. I figure we're all just puppets, you see. Wax is the only one who gets to see the show. Yay, it was so great.
But it's like, if they're gonna start rotting, like, did he lure Wax out there to come see it, or was did he use like some sort of Adium power to see the future and saw someone coming through there? And
This is the question.
Very coincidental.
Yeah. I mean, I guess those other guys showed up that same day also to get him, so maybe one of them could have seen it if Wax hadn't been here.
he was just hoping someone would come through his tunnel. It's like, oh, I don't know if anyone's coming.
He's just been sitting out there for so long. Like, if someone had showed up yesterday, like, for all we know, like, it could have been like he could have been waiting like a week since it was all ready, and he's like, oh, if somebody doesn't come today, it's ruined. Oh no.
He sees Tan going into the tunnel. Not Tan. He sees Wax going into the tunnel. It's like, oh, thank God.
Yes. Okay. Now I gotta run to the end and get ready for my show, or for my part of the show, rather. But Wax circles the rubble and sees Tan standing there holding Lessie in front of him, her mouth gagged. She's bleeding from the leg. She'd been shot, and she'd lost a lot of blood because she was starting to grow pale. Tan has a garrote around her neck, and he's standing behind her. Slender man, fine-fingered. He'd been a mortician. Black hair thinning, worn greased back in a new suit that shone with blood. So this guy just gets creepier and creepier by the moment.
So of course he was a mortician.
Right? Someone else moves us, lawman. And I like the next bit where it's like, look, this happens to us a lot. Unless he actually thinks that this is an advantage. If everyone didn't know we were a couple, then they just kill one of us instead of capturing us to use against the other. So this is what we want. And we do the same thing every time. Last time it had been like Lessie and I'd been captured and she'd been the one who had to do the thing. So she blinks. 1, 2, 3. And he's sighting in on Tan. He's going to shoot him. He fires, and at that instant, Tan yanks Lessie to the side. Her head jerks back as his bullet takes her just above the right eye. Blood sprayed against the clay wall. She crumpled. And he's like, wait, no, it can't. And Tan goes, the best performances are those that can only be performed once. And then Wax shoots him in the head, which, yeah, you would.
Yeah, again, I just wonder, it's like, all right, maybe, does this guy have some Adium? Did he deliberately use it for that? Just so, yeah, he saw Wax about to shoot, so then he got her killed. It's
especially being that close range too.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And he was behind her, so it's not like even if he knew about their secret blinking code, it's not like he could have seen her eyes blinking. So yeah, it's weird. Maybe he's just that good at being evil. He killed all those other people. So then, as Joe says, we cut chapter 1, 5 months later. Wax is at a big party. Everyone's dressed in suits and tailcoats, with women in colorful dresses with narrow waists and lots of folds and long pleated skirts. Everyone calls him Lord Waxillium or Lord Ladrian. And he doesn't like it. He's not having fun at this place with the electric lights, or apparently the talk of the city. These are new things that produce a steady 2 even light, he says. And he sees the mists outside. And so he just shoves open the double doors out and heads out onto the balcony so he can see the mists and get free of the crowd of people. And so this is where he lived when he was a kid, apparently. The grandest city in the world, a metropolis designed by Harmony himself. A place that had not been his home for 20 years. So after Leslie died, he left the roughs and moved back to the city, answering the desperate summons to do his duty to his house at his uncle's passing. So that's the letter we saw. His uncle died, and the house needs a new head. And I guess Wax is next in line. And the gunshot, he can still hear it. Says that he's still bothered by having killed his girlfriend or wife or whatever she was. But yeah, you probably would be.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this guy needs therapy.
Right? Seriously. So as someone mentioned, he's at Set Mansion. Very posh mansion.
Oh, so posh.
And from this vantage, he can see the lights down Damu Promenade.
Just keeps the hits keep on coming, guys.
Yep.
Hey, Damu was remembered with a promenade. It's nice.
Yeah, everyone else gets cities and oceans and bays, and Damer gets a street.
Apparently it's a very big street, so, you know.
Yeah,
there's
it's
that.
a promenade. He's a soldier, makes sense.
He's also an adium misting, so might be an important guy. I don't know. They didn't really have any adium afterwards, though, so I guess maybe his power wasn't super useful later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he could do the adium, but, they don't need that.
So we're getting a good look at the technological level here. Electric lights are new. They have trains. He's a railway engine. He hears chugging in the distance. Wax can see the Iron Spine building and Techiel Tower, 2 huge buildings being constructed on either side of a canal across from each other. Rumors had it that they'd eventually top out at over 50 stories, but nobody knew which one would end up being taller. They're trying to outdo each other, I guess. I feel like it's a bad idea to make changes to how tall a building is while you're in the middle of constructing it, but maybe that's just me.
Oh, it absolutely is. But having met some architects can tell you 100% this is exactly the sort of bullshit they would do.
Good to know. Like, you start building like a skyscraper, and then somebody's like, I'm gonna build a better one right across from you, and you're like, oh yeah, well fuck you, I'll make mine even better. It just keeps going back and forth. That's amazing.
Yep, I can just
Anything
picture.
you can build.
I can picture the project meeting with all like the engineers and everyone who actually have to do the building. They're all just like, oh, for fuck's sake, not again.
We're adding 5 more stories on today, boys. Oh, damn it.
Again?
But Wax is used to buildings that are like 3 stories high, is about as tall as buildings get out in the roughs, apparently. Which is also how tall Set Mansion is.
So, this is completely irrelevant, but so Wax is Ladrian, so he's descended from Breeze, and he's in Set Mansion. So he'd be distantly related to the Sets, yeah, because of Orien.
Yeah, right.
I mean, granted, it's like 300
Assuming they
years,
had children together.
Right, assuming it was Orien that had the
Right.
Ladrian children. But
Yeah,
one
okay,
would
good
think.
point.
But yeah, you have to figure. Although maybe at this point, I don't know how many people were left at the end of the world. Everyone may be kind of related, right? By now.
Yeah. Also, that just made me picture Orien as a mother. I'm just like, oh,
Right?
worst Disney mother ever.
The lady.
Surely she would have manipulated somebody into doing something about raising her children.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Well, they may have been the rich ones, so they can just hire some people. It's fine.
Telling her children the stories of how she was totally BFFs with God.
Yeah, she totally would. Oh my gosh. Lady Aving Set comes out and is like, "Oh, come in. There's people I want you to meet." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll be along. I'm just getting a little air." She didn't know what to make of him. None of them did. Mysterious scion of the Ladrian family, associated with strange stories of the realms beyond the mountains. The rest assumed him to be an uncultured rural buffoon, and he figured he was probably both of those things.
Sure.
So apparently he's supposed to be looking for a wife, it says, and everyone knows it because his uncle has left their house pretty much broke, and so finding a rich wife is the fastest way to get money back. Unfortunately, his uncle had also offended 3/4 of the city's upper crust. So yeah, that's a shame. And he's still wearing his revolvers, but they're very long revolvers and not meant for the underarm holsters he has them in, so it's very uncomfortable. And he just can't stand the idea of going back into that crowded room, and eventually says, fuck it, throws a spent bullet casing out and pushes himself off the balcony and down to the ground. Manages to find his own coach, and so he pulls his mist coat out, which I think is a super cool garment sounding. It's like a duster coat, except the bottom half is like mist cloak with all the tassels hanging off. It's like a compromise between the mist cloak that Vin used to wear and like more modern garb.
You need to look up a picture of one of these.
Right? Yeah. I want to see if we got one out there. Mist coat. Oh, well, there's lots of pictures of Wax, like fan art of Wax wearing his mist coat. So yeah, that makes sense.
Sick.
Although searching for mist coat also just brings up a bunch of mist cloak pictures with Vin or Kelsier. So anyway, but yes, now I want one. I want a cool jacket. Those things that get tangled up and knotted up though would be a pain. I always thought that about the mist cloaks. I'm like, that would get into so many knots, and then you'd spend like half of every night like unknotting it before you left. It'd be like your like electrical cord drawer or whatever, or Christmas tree lights. So he starts.
Imagine the dry cleaning bill having to untangle all these things.
So true. Dude, I wonder if they have dry cleaning. I don't know how advanced that is technologically.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I don't know.
So,
they do it by hand probably.
Mm-hmm. One would assume. So he just kind of goes out into the night, jumping around on metal that's out there, dashing across rooftops, leaping off of stuff, throwing down shell casings to push off of, and at one point lands in a patch of decorative shrubs that catch onto his coat tassels. He's like, damn it, nobody plants decorative shrubs in the roughs. I'm not used to this. But the street is lined with those nice new electric lamps encased in metal, so he can just use that as like a highway to push himself down. And people see him, but he says, coin shots are relatively rare, but Elendil's a big city with lots of people, so I'm not the first guy these people have seen cruising down the metal in the city. Coin shots often act as high-speed couriers in Elendil, so that's cool. I want that job. I guess there's not as much call for murdering people anymore, so you don't need them for that.
Not a lot of murdering going down, unfortunately.
At least not like as a profession.
Right.
And so maybe as many as 5 million people live here. Nobody is apparently sure. Okay. That seems like the kind of thing you'd want to know about. Well, whatever. And it says that before he'd left Weathering, it had been getting close to 10,000 people, and he thought that was too many. So that's not a small, I mean, it's not a big town or anything, but it's not like a tiny place either that he was taking care of out there. 10,000 is a decent number for this world where there's not that many towns in all.
Yeah.
And so he uses his power to start climbing one of these buildings that's being built out there. And we get this, we get the bits about Wayne, where it's like Wayne claims that he had memorized all the possible combination Twinborn names, but he also claimed that he'd once stolen a horse that belched in perfect musical notes. So one learned to take what he said with a pinch of copper.
That's just such a pleasing statement. It's hilarious. I loved it.
You're like, I want to steal a horse that belches musical notes? That sounds fun.
Why not?
I mean, that's something I'd want to see too.
Mr. Ed's less talented cousin.
I also like that a pinch of copper is the phrase, because it's like, if you burn copper, it protects you from being affected by like mental allomancy. So it's like harder for people to trick you or whatever by manipulating your emotions. So that's, instead of a grain of salt, it's a pinch of copper.
I did not make that connection, but that's really cool too.
Just little fun. But apparently, Wax's Twinborn is called a Crasher, which, okay, that's a fun name. Combination of coin shot and skimmer. So not only do we have all the original Allomancer names like coin shot, we have now Ferrochemical names like Skimmer for someone who uses iron. And we have the combination names, such as Crasher.
Yep, good old Crasher. Crasher, I hardly know her.
I don't think I would like being known as a Crasher. That sounds bad.
No one would want to invite you to their parties.
No.
I mean, my assumption on the name Crasher is that, it's like you can push yourself and also make yourself really heavy so you can crash into things.
Right, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I'm just saying it doesn't sound like a nice thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he makes himself real light and starts shooting upwards through the night, through the wind, climbing this under construction skyscraper. About 20 stories up, it says, is him hitting the limit on pushing on the lamp on the street level. So that is pretty high up for one push. And he's grabbing hold of stuff to kind of help himself get further up, going up the side of the building. And I like that as he starts to run out of metal, he has his steel shaving suspended in whiskey from Stagen's Still. And he's like, damn, I'm going to miss that when my stock runs out. Most allomancers didn't use whiskey in their metal vials. Most allomancers were missing out on a perfect opportunity. That's great. And so, yes, he's climbing up and up. But, of course, skyscrapers, as they go up, get thinner. So once he's getting much higher up, he's also away from the building. But he can handle that because he's got a shotgun strapped inside his coat. And so he just he's real light, so he can just use the shotgun, the kick from the shotgun, to push himself into the building. See, it's just all of these little uses, little ways that allomancy can work that had never come up before. But every little bit is cool to me. And he's like, man, the decoration up here is really nice, but who do they think is going to see it? I guess people like you are going to see it. Is the lesson.
Oh yeah, got to put all these decorations out in case the Crasher ever comes wandering up here.
And then we find out that there's a new contraption roaming the city, the horseless carriage. So that's we're developing technologically. It's an interesting time for him, and he's like, man, what these things are all weird. Vehicles that run on oil and grease, not hay and horseshoes. What's wrong with people? And then once he's decided he's high enough and has contemplated the city, he's sitting up there brooding like Batman. He pushes himself off into the night, lets himself fall, and when he starts getting too close to the ground and could see that no one was below him, he points his shotgun at the ground and pulls the trigger to give himself an anchor for pushing again.
But thank God no one was there.
Right? Well, I mean, he says that he waited till he saw that no one was there. But yeah, if he didn't see that.
But if someone was there, what was he going to do? It's like, well, I guess I'll just keep falling then.
That's a good point, actually. I mean, I guess he's also falling and moving sideways, so maybe he could just waited a few more seconds till he passed that person.
Yeah, okay.
And then he's like, oh, shit, I ruined a paving stone with that shotgun blast. Whoops. I need to learn more finesse. In the roughs, he'd been a refined gentleman. Here, he didn't want to prove himself an uncultured brute. And then he hears gunfire, and he's like, oh, something's going on. I got to get in there. And he crosses over, and it says that back in Weathering, he'd often patrolled at night watching for trouble. So this is kind of familiar in a way. So he lands on a roof, and he sees some guys down hiding behind a pile of boxes shooting at the constables who are wearing their distinctive domed hats, and they're shooting back. And so he decides he's going to help out. This is his chance to do something of value in this city. So he drops a bullet casing down and launches himself down there right into the middle of things and raises his gun, sights on the first of the thugs, and then he hears a woman whimpering, and he freezes. He just sees Lessie and the blood and the shot, and he can't shoot.
This poor guy needs therapy.
He really, really does. Oh, my God. I don't know if they have therapy.
They should.
Although, it really seems like with people who can directly manipulate your emotions that they might make good therapists to help you do things. And he almost gets hit. He almost gets shot because he freezes, and the thug does not freeze. But he has his steel bubble up, and so it deflects it a little bit. So the bullet goes through his coat and just barely misses his ribs. And he says, "Oh, Harmony," and pushes himself back out. And he's sitting up there like, idiot, fool. He'd never frozen in combat like that. Even when he'd been green, never.
It's a real bummer.
Right?
Yeah.
And he decides he's going to try to help again, but at that moment, the men in uniform swarm in and take the guys, and he's telling himself, no, I could have fired that time. It was just the one time I froze. It's fine. And it wasn't even a woman whimpering. It was a gang member who'd taken a bullet already. So he feels like kind of an ass at that point.
Maybe he was just a really, really high-pitched sounding, wussy, injured person. You never know.
If
maybe the bullet got him somewhere that causes the voice to go a bit higher.
Maybe. Oh.
I feel like if you're just making like whining, whimpering noises, it's probably hard to tell gender in the first place.
Yeah, true.
I don't think anyone is whimpering in like a deep, manful way. So he heads back home to Ladrian Mansion, his ancestral home. And his carriage has already come back. It says not surprising. They were getting used to him. But apparently this is the kind of thing that he does a lot. We didn't, I don't think, know that until now. When he made it sound like this was like an exception where he was like, no, I just can't take it anymore. I'm going out. And then now it's like, oh yeah, this is just, he keeps doing this shit.
Which between that and like, yeah, his dissatisfaction with city life in general tied to his trauma over what happened to Lessie. And it's like, why do you even come back? Like, it really seems like he probably would have just sunk into a depression at the bar out in Weathering.
Right. I don't know if if they like live together or whatever, then it might be the kind of thing where like, I don't want to be in this house anymore. I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay.
See all the places we used to go together or our friends together or whatever. It's like, I just can't. It reminds me of her too much.
That's fair.
And he had a very convenient excuse where it's like, this happened kind of coincidentally with this letter coming from back home. So it's like, oh, here's a way out where I can get away from things.
Yep, that makes sense.
And 5 months later, he's like, damn, this place sucks. So let's see. I like he takes a random shot at lurchers. It's like coin shots have to learn precision, unlike their cousins, the iron pullers, also known as lurchers. Coin shots have to be delicate and careful and accurate.
Yeah, those punk bitches.
I don't know that maybe we saw once or twice lurchers before. I remember a thing about how like they directed coins or whatever to hit metal plates or something, I think.
Yeah, it was like when you had coin shots throwing coins, the lurchers were there to pull them away from their targets.
Yeah. But it's just, I feel like it's not a kind of misting that we had almost any experience with in the first series. And so him just randomly taking a shot at them here is kind of funny.
Well, I was like, after reading about him and his, like changing his weight and using that to like drift around and stuff, I thought, oh, okay. Now, what would happen if a lurcher had that power? And I just imagine this guy just sitting there in the middle of the street, turning his weight all the way up and just pulling a building down.
Right. In my mind, it's like the laziest power ever. You're like, you just sit there and whatever you want, you're pulling it towards yourself.
Oh, imagine it's like they want to hold up a train, so this guy just sits down next to the tracks, and when the train goes past, he pulls the engine off the tracks.
Or just like there's a big bag of money on the train, he just pulls the bag of money off. It's like, that's mine now.
I guess that's more practical, but not as cinematic.
Somebody's pulling out money to pay for something, and you're like, nope, mine. And so he comes inside through like a door on the balcony, and his butler's hanging out waiting for him, holding a big candelabra.
Hey, Alfred.
He's like, yeah, exactly.
Hello, Master Bruce. Master Waxillium.
Don't get this confused with Master Wayne. That's someone else.
That's exactly. But he's like, your bath is drawn, my lord. He's like, you didn't ask. I didn't ask for a bath. He's like, yeah, but considering your night's entertainments. And then he takes a little sniff, and he's like, gunpowder? And Wax is like, yeah. He's like, I trust my lord didn't shoot anyone too important. This guy, I don't know how to say his name. Tilame? I don't know.
I think Tilorm, I think.
So he's disapproving. He's just standing there staring disapprovingly at his boss. Undoubtedly thinking that Wax's disappearance from the party had caused a minor scandal, and it would now be even more difficult to get a proper bride. He didn't say he was disappointed, because, after all, he was a proper lord's servant. And Tilom is just like, shall I draft a letter of apology to Lady Set, my lord? I believe she'll expect it, considering that you sent one to Lord Stanton. And Wax is like, yeah, okay, go ahead. And he's beating himself up. He's like, I'm acting childish. I'm acting stupid. What am I even doing? And then the butler's like, can I speak boldly for a moment? The city has a large number of constables, and they are quite capable of their job, in their jobs. Our house, however, has but one high lord, and thousands depend upon you. House Ladrian is one of the most powerful in the city, at least historically. In the government, Wax represents the interests of all the people his house employs. They also have representation based on their guilds, but Wax is the one they depend on the most. If Wax doesn't do something to fix the situation with how poor in cash their house is, it could mean jobs lost, poverty, and collapse as other houses pounced on his holdings and seized them for debts. So that's a fun. This is an interesting way that stuff works here.
What the hell did his uncle do?
Right? It's like blew all their money on coke and whores, or I don't know. Maybe just made a bunch of bad business deals.
Yeah, you know.
So he takes his coat off, puts it in the trunk, puts his revolvers in also. They weren't his only guns, but they represented his life in the rust. And he tells the butler, take it away, put it somewhere. And the guy's like, okay, I'll have it ready in case you need it. He's like, no, take it away, put it somewhere safe, but put it away for good. And the butler says, yes, my lord. And he sounded approving. And Wax thinks that's it. Wax the lawkeeper is gone. It's time to be Lord Waxillium Ladrian, 16th High Lord of House Ladrian in the 4th Octant of Elendel City. And that is the end of chapter 1. And we do go 6 months later when we go to chapter 2, like Joe said, but we'll leave that for then. Maybe that can be that we can pull that into predicaments. What do you think is happening in the story that is just skipping us to 6 months later? So yeah, let's do that. What do you guys think?
I feel like, yeah, he's going to give it a red hot go of being the High Lord that he's supposed to be, and he's not going to do terrible, but he's not going to be very good, and it's not really going to pan out for House Ladrian. Like, I feel like the way they've set this up is in the end, the story is going to have to be one where he learns to, forgive himself for what he did to Lessie, and that means he's going to have to take up the guns at some point, and he's going to realize like the High Lord thing it's not necessarily what he's meant to be. He can that'll probably be like an Ellen thing. He'll learn to do better at it, but in the end, he's still a lawman, at his heart. So I think that's where we're going to go with this.
Okay, that makes sense, and I like your thought on that where the story going is he has to forgive himself. That's that definitely makes sense. He's really, really not. He's beating himself up about what happened, which anyone would be if you were trying to shoot a guy and shot the woman you love instead. So yeah,
perfectly realistic reaction, but yeah, fucking brutal.
Predicaments. So I think in the next 6 months time gap, and we just had a 5 month time gap. We're almost coming up on the anniversary of
Ooh, that's true.
The death. Yeah. So I don't know. I think he's going to try and do his best to put the Mistborn mist coat away. But yeah, he will have to pull that out obviously at some point. I think there's going to be more to bloody Tan. Even though he's dead, his ability to move Lessie into the way, it definitely smells like Adium in there. So I don't know if we'll find out a bit more about Adium. Maybe there's some sort of crime going down involving that as well. She's talking to me and smiling at me. And because Tam was going on about they're all puppets and all that sort of stuff. Maybe he had a spike, could see somebody. I don't know. I think more about that's going to come into play, and perhaps Wax will have to investigate it. I'm really hoping that we see Wayne soon. I reckon, I'm just going to throw it out there as a bit of a wild thing, but maybe Wayne is actually a Mistborn, like legends tell of old. But I think we will see a Mistborn somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. That's really all I've got this early stage.
There's a Mistborn hiding out there somewhere who's going to show up even though everyone thinks they're just legends. So are they going to be like good guy Mistborn or bad guy Mistborn?
I don't know, probably good guy Mistborn. We'll go good guy Mistborn for now.
Good guy Mistborn. Sounds like a band name.
Was it Goodman Menace? Was it?
Oh yeah, Menace. Goodman Menace.
Goodman Menace. So, yeah, I like what Jamie said about the possible adium use by old Bloody Tan. So it would be interesting if maybe he's part of like some kind of cult or something, and then more of them start showing up, or like he tried to stay out of it, but 6 months on, there's some weird disappearances in Ellendale, and he's like, oh no, it's adding up. It's the same thing. Like somebody's doing this again. And so then he has to spring into action even though he doesn't want to. So that would be really interesting. I'm interested to see if there's any other characters, I'm sure there will be, that are descendants of people that we know. And I'm curious to see if we see Marsh or any other characters that should be dead but somehow are not. So yeah, I'm excited for the possibilities, but I'm really kind of enjoying so far not knowing where this one's going to go. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
Fair enough. Let me take a look here. So for next time, and we already 10% of the way through the book, in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah,
that was 10%.
Short.
It is pretty short.
Wow, yeah, it's a short book. So how many weeks is this going to take us then? 10
weeks? I think I have it scheduled out at 9.
9?
Yeah, this is actually, this section is the shortest section that we're going to read, so they get slightly lengthier after this one. But for next time, we're going to be reading chapters 2 and 3. So the next 2 chapters in the Alloy of Law.
Well, maybe that'll mean things will move more quickly since it's so short.
Well, you'd think, right? Like you don't have time to like build up for half the book before your stuff actually starts to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Yep. No new emails, no new reviews this week. So music by Miracle of Sound. And as I said, the new song is Through Life and Loss, which already seems appropriate given just what we read in this one section.
Yeah.
He's going through some shit. And the 2 chapters for next time, and we're already going to be getting, I think it's another 10% for the next section, even though it's longer. I actually have to include like in this first 10% of the book, it's like, the dedication and maps and all the title, all that other stuff. So
right. I never considered that was part of it. I just assumed that the percentage wise was purely just the text of the book itself.
Okay, so yes. Thank you, everyone. 2 chapters for next time. Very excited to get back to Scadrial, back into a very new and different sort of story that I think it already, just from what we're saying, it's shorter, it's going to move faster, it's already feeling different from the original Mistborn books, at least to me. So
yeah,
I love these. I think that these are a lot of fun, and there's always debate about which of the 2 eras that are out now is the better era in the fandom. And, you got purists who are like, no, you can't get better than this original trilogy. And other people are like, oh, no, the second one's great. And so it'll be interesting to see what you guys think when we get through. I mean, it's not complete yet. The last one's supposed to come out in November. That'll be a couple months after we finish these, if everything goes according to schedule. So we may have to come back and do the last one kind of after we do something else. But anyway.
Okay. Interesting.
I assume that we'll have weeks that we have to skip or other stuff going on between now and then. So for all I know, it could end up kind of evening out. But we'll see. We will see when we get there. So,
yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And wuzzing to the time of next. Colo?
When we lose everything that defines us, can we hold to the promise that binds us and carry on into tomorrow's sorrow?